Hi, my name is Miki Hughes. Welcome back. This is a podcast about anxiety called Over the Edge, where I speak with comedians and medical professionals and other people in the entertainment industry. And I discuss with them how we feel about the pandemic and performance and anxiety since COVID hit. Now we're going back to the stage, so the mood is sort of changing a little bit, and it's kind of about what it's like to be back on stage. And just for the record, I've said it straight in the last couple of episodes since I was told I was ostracizing half of my audience, which is more than fine. I am pro vaccine. I'm pro mask. I am anti genocide. I'm pro victim, anti racist. I'm a feminist, anti conspiracy, LGBTQ plus supporter. I believe that everybody in Canada should have clean water. I am pro pet adoption. I am anti jerk. So, since I was asked to tone it down, I just thought that I would throw that out there. I have a wonderful comedian with us today. He's more online. He's got a YouTube channel, and I met him during the pandemic online, and I find him very entertaining. He's captivating. He's interesting, and he has a lot to say. So I'm very privileged to be able to bring. JR up to date. So here he is. Hey,
Hi.
hey,
Hi
How-
there.
hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, actually.
Fantastic.
Yes, I know, right? Like, oh, that sounds so fake. No, I'm doing really well.
Well, no,
Very
you're.
well.
I'm sitting in a basement closet, and you are in the sun. So I
I'm
really like the
I'm
lighting.
on the 24th floor. And this is with the blinds closed. This is how much sun comes through here. Yeah. So
Wow.
it is intense. I keep them closed a lot during the day if I'm doing TV and video and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
spend a lot of time in the sun.
good, good. Are you okay? So you said doing a lot of TV and video stuff. What are the projects that you worked on, say during COVID, or projects that you started during COVID that you didn't have
Yeah.
prior? Because this is when I got to know you. When I
Yeah, so last year when COVID first started, back in March, eventually everybody was talking Zoom shows and doing online comedy, and I'm like, what is that? Like, I don't know if that's something I want to get into. How do you even do that? But eventually, I was asked by someone in the comedy community here, who's a producer. She kind of took me under her wing when I first showed up here from Toronto, and
who is that, if you don't mind? You want to
Nina
put
Wilder. Nina
okay.
Wilder. So she saw my first couple sets ever because I didn't do comedy until I came out here 2 years ago to Vancouver. And she was working at the club that I did my first couple sets at. She kind of took me under her wing and she saw something in me, and then she was like, "Oh, this guy, I gotta help him out." She was doing shows, she was producing shows. She's a really big go getter. And she threw me on a bunch of shows and started getting me hosting and stuff. And it was a
Awesome.
really fast track. And then anyway, during the pandemic, she was like, she's a crazy busybody, so she needed to do something. She started online shows. She asked me to do it. I had a lot of fun. I continued to do it. But then those died down a lot, and there wasn't a lot to do, a lot during the pandemic. So I started a game streaming channel. I started doing people's podcasts.
What do you play? What do you
I
play?
oh, Oh, I play everything. I play absolutely everything from sports games to first person shooters. Not I stay away from the Call of Duties. I don't like them. I don't like the online world and universe that's created there. It's just people yelling at each other, and it's not. I play games that have fun and feel better. And I would find if I go to relax and play Call of Duty, I would
I was
just
just
feel
gonna say, like, is it Call of Duty?
no, Call of Duty would be the worst. So I stopped playing Call of Duty and I just started doing more cooperative things. I play a lot of Destiny. I play Terraria. I play Minecraft. It's just all over everything. And I stream everything I have a new video game channel as well that I do. So I've been keeping busy doing that stuff a lot. And I play music. I play guitar. So I've gotten back into buying equipment and regaining equipment because I sold a lot of stuff before I moved here. So now music has entered my life big time again, and I'm going to start doing musical projects as well.
Oh, good. Oh, and you play the guitar.
I do, yeah.
Is it acoustic to poetry you've written?
So that's exactly how it started. So when I was like 13, I picked up the guitar and I started playing, but I was always into music. I played drums from the age of 5 in my church growing up. So, but playing guitar, yeah, that was it. I found my love, and then I would love to write. I just write and write and write, and then I would just have this book of words and poems, and then I would have music and riffs, and then I would just put them together and create songs.
What made you decide that you wanted to do comedy then? Like, how did you go from
So
to
yeah,
this pit of despair?
so that's an interesting story too. So I did the music thing in Toronto for so long. I tried the band thing. I could play guitar and drums, but you need a band to do the full music thing. And I'm into metal, and I'm a metalhead guy, so I wanted that metal stuff with other members. Now I'm pretty driven, and I'm really like when I have a passion for something, I just go and do it. But with music, you have to collaborate with people, and you need to find four people that feel exactly like you, want the exact same thing as you, and want to play the same music as you. And I write a lot of the music, so I would bring it to them, and after a few tries at it and going through it and picking at it, it's not what I envisioned anymore. And I started going, I'm having trouble with this because everything I was doing, I was collaborating with people, and it just wasn't coming out the way I liked it, and I wasn't happy with it. And they don't have the same drive as me, and they would be slacking.
You're not a perfectionist, are you?
So I'm starting to feel like I found that out. Yes, I am 100%. So I hated to see my works being picked apart and by other people that didn't see the vision I saw. So one thing I was watching Kill Tony a couple of years ago in Toronto, the show Kill Tony from the Comedy Store in LA. Are you aware of Tony Hinchcliffe? I know he had a
Yes.
bit of, yes, he had
He came
a,
up actually a couple of episodes ago. I've had a few
of course he
questions
did.
just about opinions
Yeah,
on cancel culture.
yeah, he
And,
definitely had a stint recently.
and I'm going to tell you, I have an opinion that you would not expect. I don't. Or maybe you would expect it. I don't know.
Let's
So,
hear it.
recording comedy at a comedy show and exposing it online is fucking bullshit.
Yes.
That's bullshit. I've got some like abortion jokes, or I tend to swear more when I feel
When you're
nervous.
working on
And I
something,
when I'm working on something, yes. And if some of my set was taken out of context, now he wasn't out of context, like yeah, he was being a piece of shit, but so is the guy recording him.
that's right.
And I don't feel that that's fair. I put on the Rank and Vile show with Kenny Robinson and Darren Frost 2 years ago, and I put all over the tickets, like no refunds, and like this is bullshit. Like if you get offended, do
Yes.
not buy these tickets. And we actually had to get in the Da Vinci Center. We actually got the smaller room. They would only advertise it on one of the radio stations because they couldn't do it on the other ones because those are family oriented. And I
Right.
just said like these guys are going to get up and they're just going to and it was
Yeah.
funny and it was good and I
It's
was prepared. So
yeah.
anyway, so that's my opinion on it. And most, I'm
Yeah.
not like, hey, I want to
So
call
yeah.
moms birth givers and cancel the Muppets. That was bullshit. Anyway, what's
Yes.
what's your opinion on that? I'm sorry. Well,
So
I'll
my
put a
opinion,
link to it. This is Tony Hinchcliffe was a guy who recorded. Who was the guy who
yeah.
was recording?
I,
Uh,
I I don't know the guy who was
I don't know.
recording, but
He was
who he was talking
Asian.
about
Yeah,
was
he made a bunch of racist comments and they were
about
they
the
were
host
racist.
or the host at the show. Yeah.
That's right. And I mean, and so it was posted online. And this guy, Henchcliffe, is actually very, very funny. I mean, that's subjective as well.
He
I
used to
find him
write
very
for
funny.
every roast battle for Comedy
Yes.
Central. Like this
He's
was,
he's also
yeah,
I find him hilarious. Yeah, he is not for the faint of heart. But what
that's right.
happened? So this video got posted. He lost a sponsorship. He lost gigs. He got canceled. Because he
Yeah,
was taken,
yeah,
and I believe it was out of context, right? Because if two
yes.
people are sparring with each other, you can't just take one side of it and be like,
That's right. And yeah, and he would be the main head writer for a lot of those Comedy Central roast that they had. He wrote for them, so that's his style. And I get it. Yes, he went extreme there, but my opinion is the same that it's the video that should never be released. That's an unfinished product. It's releasing a movie before it's finished. It's releasing art before it's done, a painting,
oh,
anything. And that's being like obviously that's not a bit he's working on, but that's in the moment talk that he had about the comic before him and everything. It's just a mess when you do that. And you're right. I definitely agree with you on that one.
okay.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
what happened was I was watching him or I came across him on YouTube and his show what it is it's called Kill Tony and it's from the Comedy Store in LA and people show up and you put your name in a bucket. He calls the name, you go up, you do 60 seconds of comedy. And then they interview you for 10 minutes or so and they talk to you. Now, a lot of these people, it's their first time on stage. It's their second, third, and I'm watching them and I'm cringing and I'm like, like this is horrible. They're gonna rip into him. This was the
yeah,
worst. But instead, Tony and the guests and everybody was like they're like, that was your first time? He's like, yeah. Like, that was amazing. That was great. And I'm like, wait, what? That's what's considered great. So I started going, I could do that. And then with stand-up comedy, I'm not collaborating with anybody. Like, I'm the beginning of the joke and I'm the
You
end
are
of the joke.
responsible. Yep, you are
I'm
responsible. There's
responsible.
tumbleweeds, that's on
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Nobody gets to pick at my art there like they did with music. Nobody gets to pick at the bit. It's mine. I say it how I want to say it, and I get off stage, and it is what it is. If I don't want to add something to
That's
it, I don't.
awesome.
If I don't want your solo in this part of the song, I'm not going to put it there because it's my say. And so I that's what I did. That's what got me into comedy.
That's awesome. Like, no, like, and you're very personable, right? You're
Yeah.
very, I find you like very, very easy to get to know. And I
Yeah.
love that. I actually joined improv to get over my stage fright. And I realized that's something different. Be like in a band, right? Like you're working off other people, they're picking up for you, you're going back and forth. But when you're on that stage, and I'm a nervous comic, like I'm nervous. So I work
Mm-hmm.
it into my thing. And maybe that's why I produce shows. I don't know. I just kind of like being in it. I love it. So, and I'm sorry. And you've been doing comedy for how long? Like you've been doing it more
2 years,
online.
just 2 years. And
Okay.
one of the full year and more, it has been COVID and the lockdown. So
Mhm.
really, I have a year of stage time doing stand up comedy. But what happened was, I know
I'm
I'm
not
a
laughing at you.
baby. I'm a baby in this comedy still.
I said like I said one time I'm like good morning to everybody except for those celebrating 1 year in stand-up comedy because you don't even know.
I get it. I get it. I do totally get it. And I'm surrounded by comics who have been doing it decades and more.
That's okay.
Um,
I've known people who've
yeah,
been doing it for 20 years. They're just not like they're not good
that's
anymore.
and so those are my internal thoughts that I don't share to them, of course, but I'm surrounded by them and I'm going, I feel like I got this. I feel like I have a handle on this and this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. And it helps coming from doing music in bands because I have stage presence already. The nervousness is a bit less. I used to even MC weddings just because I have that kind of personable interaction with people and I can talk and
You know,
entertain.
I wasn't sure that I was gonna do this, but like what I did, and this is just to show people like what like an easygoing guy you are. Like, and this is why I think that you're gonna make it, and this is why you already go past me, right? So
All right.
I like so when I was doing JR's intro piece, I made some like I made a I don't know, I made a spelling error. I did something or whatever. So then when we were doing the banner at the bottom, right, where it says JR, like I actually had some other ones made up first, right? So I didn't know, and you're so fucking cool about it that
Uh,
I was like, this guy doesn't give a shit, right?
no, no,
And
nothing affects me.
you're friends with other comedians in the industry, which is awesome, right? Because you already know people. And I just thought, I'm just gonna put these out. But before I did this, I do the thumbnail, right?
Those were the funniest.
And the
It was so
thumbnail, and I've
funny.
got those here because all he said, like just guys like, hey, can you do this? Can you change this? And people do it all the time. They're like, hey, can you take this out? Can you put this on? Like I make adjustments all the time. And I'm telling you, it's not like it's really not a big deal. But let's see if I'm gonna see if I have them here. This is gonna be like an editing nightmare. So this will just be for the video thing. I
Yeah,
think that
yeah, no
I'm pretty
problem.
sure I can get okay, one second. Let's see if I
That's
can go
awesome.
with uh with video. Let's say video. I don't do that. I don't want to do that either. Yeah, so like so I was making the street like the banners and stuff too at the bottom. I'm like I should just fucking bring them up.
They were so funny, Mickey. I never
Oh,
had so much fun.
they were great. So if I go, I'm gonna go Google Drive. You know what? I should have. I don't do any prep work. I'm really bad at podcasts.
Sorry.
I'm so fucking bad. So if I go, is it documents? What did I do? Is it downloads? No. I'm gonna find. Oh, find this fuckers. I swear to God. Okay, maybe not. Oh shit! I can only bring in video.
uh,
No.
I have them on pictures
Do you? Yeah, like I have them here.
because I even saved them because I wanted to show them. That's how funny they were.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna let you do that then. Go ahead. Yeah, because all I'm getting is videos. So I mean,
Uh,
basically, like
uh,
they're like the banners on.
it's
I
just
don't
so
know.
good. Yeah.
You're like, oh, I
Um,
love your setup. It's so great. I'm like, you know what? It's way smarter than me. I don't use half the features. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm doing, but I know that I can download audio now in 2 tracks, which is a lot better. You have, and when I do post this, I can put your like your podcast, your YouTube. You know, if you have a Venmo or PayPal or anything, I'll include that as well.
all right, so here they are. Um, so first, oh no, that's the good one. Let's see if you can see
What did I
these.
put? Okay, so the
Oh,
thumbnail was,
oh, I don't know if will it focus.
what does it say? So he asked me to change his name, and this is
So
what I
I asked
replied.
her to just change the name, and then she's like, "It just says Velocity Comedy Character, No Holds Barred." Is a little bitch about spelling Jr.
I don't know. I
um,
just feel comfortable doing it. Like I just,
and then
it's
there was then she just sent me these. So she started sending me these in a row, like because I just asked her to change how she spelled Jr. That's it. So then the next one was
that's it.
the next one was Velocity Comedy Character, No Holds Barred. Name withheld for legal reasons. Guest X. She had me as guest X, and then she goes philosophy comedy character, no holds barred. Enter entrepreneurial pirate Jr. And then the philosophy comedy character, no holds barred. Fuck, this guy has problems. Jr. And
Well, if you encourage me, if you're laughing, like I'll just keep going. I don't have a
oh, keep
ceiling
tagging it.
or an
Keep
off
tagging
on
it.
it. Yeah.
I put them in a separate file for
You
this
go ahead.
show.
You post them if you like. But
Oh, they're
that's
so good.
I just did the banners like just for that reason, just because it's super
There's
nice.
yeah. So right away when you started sending those, I was like, this is gonna be fun. Like
So you're new, but you're easy to work with. You can make fun of yourself. Like my whole thing is just self-deprecating because I don't like I'm not attacky, right? So I'm not
yeah.
attacking people. I feel like you're gonna like blow up. Like really. And your videos are really, really funny as well.
I thank you very much. And I my first 5 minutes I wrote was all self-deprecating. Like that's it. Like it was just bang, 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 bang. But it was in a way where I don't tell it where people are like, "Oh, he's so sad." It's you can tell I'm happy while I'm doing it.
Yeah, like have you
It
ever
brings
had
me
anybody
joy
go like,
too.
"Oh, I'm," have you ever said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Like have you ever had that? I got that once. I'm like, "You guys are killing
I
me."
sometimes I get awes, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
don't do. And I point them out, and I'm like, don't do it. I had that actually like 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Some girl just went aw, and I'm like, no, no. I'm so I'm stepping away from that. Because this is my comedy journey, and that's how you learn. You
Yeah.
do who you are at the beginning and how you write and what you write about. Is very different than what you eventually get into, but that's how you
And
learn, and that's the progress of writing.
yeah, and if they're, I mean, like, who am I? I haven't been doing it for very long, but if my act elicits a response from, a table full of women to go, oh, then I need to rewrite the joke,
That's
right?
right.
Right?
I changed things, and that's how comedy is, and that's why videotaping Tony Hinchcliffe because he now he knows he probably needs to change some things, which I'm sure he does, like every comic does. I wouldn't want those beginnings of those jokes, like it'd be horrible.
Hmm.
Not in a cancel way, but it'd be so cringy and unfunny and not well written that I would hate it. And I videotape all my sets, every single one, and I watch them not to share, just to watch them when I get
Okay.
home because, and I have a hard time watching them. Like,
Nobody's going to be harder on you than you are.
oh,
I,
I hate
yeah.
them unless I had
God,
a rule.
God love the asshole that gets on stage with all the confidence in the world, sucks shit, and won't shut up for 21 minutes,
Oh
right?
God,
Like,
I
God love
don't
that
want
guy.
to be that.
And then
Yeah,
they get off stage and they're like, I killed it, right? It's the Eric
yeah,
Clapton says that he is not a very good guitar player. Like I saw him in an interview, right? Like to me, Eric Clapton, I don't know if and maybe just because I don't know anybody new, like to me, like he's the best guitar player in the world,
he
like
absolutely is
like
one
on
of
the
the
planet.
greatest. Yeah,
That's
he
right.
absolutely is.
And I saw him in an interview once, and they, asked him it's something about technical skill, and he said, "Oh no, like he thinks he's shit." I'm like, well, Eric Clapton thinks he's fucking shit. If the Dalai Lama can say I've got a long way to go, then maybe I can make some fucking jokes on
Yeah,
stage and let this
yeah.
imposter syndrome kind of fuck off for a little bit.
and
And
that's my and that's my thing too. A lot of people, because there's a lot of people around, and I actually made a Facebook post about this like 2 nights ago. It was just about stop giving people false praise because, in a sense, like you
you're
may
not
think
helping.
in a sense you may think you're being nice because I walk off stage, I know if I bombed or not.
Yeah.
Now, when I walk off that stage and I have everyone going, "Great set, great set," I'm looking at you a little differently after because I'm just like, that wasn't though. But I understand their intention, so I'm not. It's not about that. It's not like, oh, I can't trust you or anything. It's just their intentions are obviously in the right place,
And yeah,
but in the long run, it actually doesn't help at all. I'd rather, that's why I tape it, because then I can critique it and I can see it from the audience's point of view.
and
Yeah,
exactly, and because you're going to be the best judge of yourself, and I'm
yeah,
actually going to say, like, so I was doing open mics, and I got a reputation of being kind of a bitch. And the thing is, I am not, but I'm not going to do what you said and blow
right,
smoke up somebody's ass. That I got to the point where I said, how do you feel you did? Oh, tell me, like, what did you think? Did you like it? Like, do you
right,
want to know what I think, or do you want me to tell you that comedy is hard and you're brave and good for
right,
you? Right? And then, no, be
and
honest. Okay, it was
that's right.
terrible. You were all over the place. You weren't in the spotlight. You spoke too fast. You said too much. You used the same jokes as last time, and your last joke wasn't funny. And then they'd be like, oh, like
Right, and
I
but
will tell you.
but in comedy, that is so important to know. Like those, you don't grow unless you know those things.
Yeah.
Everything you just mentioned is a huge thing that changes a set and can
Yeah, and if
change
I
the
was
whole
an
thing.
asshole or if I was threatened, I'd be like, "Okay, so next time wear shorts.
Right.
Don't shake the, like the MC's hand." Like there's and I'm new
Yeah.
too. Like we're kind of like two newbies right now, right? Like anybody like, if Kenny Robinson was watching this, he'd be like, "That's adorable. They're children. They're still like baggy ears. Look at these
Look at
look at
that
these
hope still in Jay's eye. He still has hope and glimmer.
look at these kids. I'm talking about comedy. Woo! Uh, now I'm mad at Kenny Robinson. So I can't believe he would say those things about me. So just kidding. Sorry. Uh,
Oh,
so this is actually a podcast about anxiety, and I'm just going to ask you. I'm going to throw it out there. Like I've put my stuff out there, and it's called Over the Edge. I found that going into November I was having a really hard time, and that other people of like-mindedness were going through the same thing. Now I live alone, and I didn't have anybody to talk to, and I was feeling like I was spiraling. So I started this, and people are on the same page. And even though I
yeah.
thought it was gonna be like super funny, whatever, like, so I'm not like digging to like all Martha Stewart, like, oh, tell me what hurts you. How did you feel as a musician, creator, creative person, going into the pandemic when you were just starting to find your comedy? All of a sudden, okay, now there's no shows. Now you can't even play with your band. How did you handle the first 6 months of lockdown?
So it was tough. I'll tell you, before even the lockdown and my first whole year of comedy, and before I moved here a couple years before, I had become a very heavy drinker. I had become pretty much an alcoholic. I was daily getting drunk every night. And so, and I'm such a functioning alcoholic though. Like I was doing working all day at one job, at a day job, and then rushing to a show at night, and then making sure on that trip I filled my backpack with drinks before the store closed, because it'd be closed by the time the show's done. So I'd make sure I always, every show I went to, I had a backpack full of beer that I never opened, and I never drank at shows because I always waited till after the show and I got home and I would drink alone. So that, and then show stopped, and things were picking up for me, and I just started getting all these gigs, and I was 6 months into comedy, everything was seeming great, and then everything just shut down, and then I just started drinking all day. I lost my job. I was drinking heavily and eating horribly, living in a room that I had rented when from I moved here from Toronto. So I rented a place on Craigslist, and it only got approved the day before I flew in. And it's just
So
a room.
you came into Vancouver without even knowing.
Really, I got the email confirmation 11 p.m. at night, and my flight was 6 in the morning. And then I get here, I get picked up. My buddy already lives here. We grew up in Toronto together, and we lived together, and he moved out here a couple years before me. So what was happening was I was in a really bad place in Toronto as far as depression. Like I always suffered from depression from the age of 13. I've been on medication, and then eventually I take myself off the meds after almost 20 years. Like it was not until I was like 35, I really had to take myself off of them. They were handicapping me. They were debilitating. I had gone through every kind. I had done inpatient programs in hospitals for depression and suicidal thoughts and bipolar disorder. I went through, and I went through all the meds, but eventually I had to stop because they were really making me feel like I was back on cocaine sometimes, and the feelings I'd get and the nightmares and the skin crawling, and it was horrible. So my point being, like, he saw that I was in this horrible spot. And he's always been a positive light in my life. He's a workout fanatic, vegan style. Like, he's Vancouver in
Yeah,
a
I was there.
a
Yeah, I was there
perfect
for
body.
14 years. Yeah, I went
Yeah.
to the
So
gym.
he and I just mentioned, like, he saw what I was going through, and I had a full-time job and I was living, but I wasn't really living. I was dying. He was back there and we were living together. I had gotten very healthy, and he really put me on a good track in life. And then when he moved away, it just all fell apart. And I saw the Kill Tony thing, like I mentioned, and he was already out here. He said, "Come out here, man, and try stand-up comedy. Just fucking do it." And I'm 38 years old, and I'm like, "Yeah, what am I doing? Like, this is it. This is my last push. Like, I've tried and failed so many times at different things. Like, why am I just gonna? What am I gonna do? Just keep drinking and eating in this basement
How
and
to,
working
what
on
is this?
the
Can it be summed up by saying I was just tired?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
a life of struggle and fighting, and to be accepted and always hiding everything and every feeling, being the fat funny friend to everybody my whole life, and always full of talent, music and writing and comedy. Everybody knew I was funny from the day they met me.
you have so much
So,
potential, JR.
so much. It was
So much
just
potential.
all that
Yeah.
sweat from being fat. It's not from being fat. It was potential leaking out of me. Um, and I just, so he always saw something in me too. So there's these people in my life that really see something in me, and they just are like, and he always told me, he's like, "Dude, you're so talented. The last thing I would hate for you to die at 40." And he always told me that, he's like, "I just want to save you." Like, he's like, like a girlfriend that wants to save you, and or something, somebody in your life. So I always, thankfully, I had these people, and they really
I'm
turned
sorry.
my
Who
life
is it?
around.
Can I bother you to tell you? Like, who is your friend?
Yeah.
You want to give him a shout out?
His name is Drew Andrew. He does photography, he does comedy, he does most of my social media, like my websites and stuff. So he's a genius. So, and but how geniuses are. Geniuses also have trouble living amongst people, that in a world of people that aren't, like, he's just so talented. And
I'm picturing him right now, like in a room full of people where he's the 100-watt light bulb and everybody else is a 40.
yes, a hundred
Yeah,
percent. Yeah, that's him. Like, it's
I'll
just,
uh, I'll put a
yeah.
link up to his photography thing as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
so that
Drew Andrew Photo. It's he's absolutely fantastic. So he does fitness pics now. He does pics for fitness models and things like that, and also headshots for comedians, and does most of my stuff too. And so he's been great to have. But always, so I'm actually back living with him again. So it turned out, after I moved here, and I got that a room. It was a room in a house full of students that go to SFU here out in Burnaby, and again, just a dirty house. And I'm a very neat particular guy. Like, I'm not your regular bachelor dude.
I get it.
Um,
Every one of these pleats is on purpose. It looks like I spent a lot of time to make it look like I don't give a shit what they look like.
but everything matters in our lives. Like,
Yeah.
and for my life, everything is placed a certain way. Everything is done a certain way. You people come to our apartment or other communities sometimes to visit, and they're like, "What the like? Two guys live here."
Hmm.
And it's insanely immaculate and clean, and we have plants, and it's not what you'd think. And but I've always been different in a way where I always cared about that stuff. I always cared more about all that stuff than most guys. So even when I hear comedy like, "Oh, men are dirty," and this, I'm like, it
No,
doesn't affect me at
I
all.
my
It
my
doesn't
my
pertain to me.
mind is a mess. I can't have my surroundings a mess too, because
Right.
that's
I
too
guess
much
that's what it
mess.
is. It's what I
Yeah,
can control. And
that's
it's
right.
what I have control over. And my control is over how clean I keep this place,
Hmm.
how things are placed, everything, every single thing. So,
I
yeah,
share a little bit of myself, so I might as well just tell you too, because this sort of come up before. But I was so controlling to every single point, and not being able to handle my own emotions, and being sitting underneath the pressure of my own brain,
yeah,
right? And I was bulimic for a really long time, and I found that had flared up again, and I was wondering why. Like, why is this an issue for me? And it was because I can control what I put in my body. I can control my
right.
external. It was just another way to grab control when I was spinning out of control.
Right. Yeah. There's that one thing we can't control, but no matter how many things we do control outside of it, there's still that one thing though. So, but we still keep trying to control these many things around us, and it's how I cope. It's
What's
how
the
we
one
cope.
thing? What's the one thing? Tell me what that
Part
is.
of, oh, the one thing I mean, like sometimes my mind, my brain, my feeling is happiness. Why I'm always so down and depressed, or why I was, I spend a lot of time alone. But you know what, and all those things are like issues I did suffer from, and I got to tell you though, now presently, Jr. does not suffer from any of these things. My battle and my struggle, I believe, has fully come to an end about since I moved out of that place I was living in when I first moved here, where it was driving me crazy. My surroundings, drinking, stuck in a room and eating takeout, and surrounded by people who weren't clean, and it was just so. I had to get out of there. And Andrew here, he was in a relationship though with someone and living with his girlfriend. So it was me kind of waiting around, going, because our whole plan was like he wanted out of the relationship, and but he did it a lot slower than I was anticipating. But eventually, we finally got a place together, and that's when my life changed. We moved into here in December last year. I've been sober since January.
Oh my
Um,
God, good for you.
Completely sober, haven't had a sip of alcohol, and I was drinking every day for 4 years straight, like every day, to from after show, so from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m., and then I pass out and go to work and function like a normal human. And I don't know how I do it, but I was doing it, but I knew it was killing me, and I knew it was destroying my life. So we moved into this condo here, and it's just the most beautiful thing. Like the walls are windows, and I'm 24 floors up in this view, and there's a gym in the building, and it's two washrooms, two-bedroom apartment with laundry, and we can keep it clean. I'm living with someone who I've lived with in the past that I know that loves to be clean as well, and just on the same page as far as creativity and things. So since I got sober, I got to tell you, these last 8 months have been nothing but me healing, and
Yeah,
it just,
you emanate that in your persona and your posts and who you are, right? Like you can still
yeah.
have a
And
jarring sense of humor. You don't have to be like a depressed piece of shit to, you know.
no,
And I
even
was,
that post I made a post also a couple days ago, and it's as serious as I try to get anymore when it comes to social media. But it's about people always trying to give you advice on losing weight, whether you don't ask for, or trying to offer you medication that may help. And I've had this happen quite a few times in the last 2 weeks, and
I love that when friends are like that. Like, have you tried Ritalin?
yeah, and it's like,
I don't know.
yeah,
Been with my doctor for 12 years. Funny, it never
30,
came up.
30 years I've been dealing with medication and weight. I get it. Like you don't you see this as an outsider, as a person who watches, because I put up a clip. It's 13 seconds long. I put recently, a few days ago, from
I
one of
have
my
to watch
latest
that.
performances, and it's just about and I mentioned I've been losing weight in the thing. Now there's comments about, I'm getting direct message. I'm like, guys,
Maybe
stop.
I'll
And
cut. Maybe what I'll do is I'll cut here and I'll put in the video as well when I
yeah,
put the final.
it's literally 13 seconds about me losing weight recently because I have a toothache though.
Okay, so
That's the reason.
I'll give a
Yeah,
throw to it. It'll look a little bit more professional, but
cool.
not for the YouTube. But I'll say this is the clip that JR is talking about with him on stage, a 17-second clip.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, now this is us coming back from the clip, and we're both like,
Yes.
that was the funniest thing ever.
Oh my god!
That was
It
just
was
the funny.
it
and
was
and
Hinchcliffe on a
oh
racist
God,
rant. We're like,
I
oh
need a
my
minute.
god, that
Cut the
guy's
break. Cut
amazing.
the
That is
break.
so
Cut the
funny.
break. Um, and I post these things, but I guess people don't realize how happy I really am,
Yeah.
and they think my happiness is derived from how I look. And I've learned recently, and I used to think that, and I used to let it control my feelings, and I know, and I am working on that. I worked on it, and I lost 200 pounds before in less than a year by working out with my roommate in Toronto. And there's images of that on my Instagram and everything, before and after. And then I gained it back when he left, like I said, and I gained all this back. But I was healthy. I was a gym rat. I was a beast, like in the gym, and just
When you quit drinking,
and,
right? I quit drinking
yeah,
10 years ago and I was
yeah,
really, really big for 5 minutes. Like when I got on the scale and it said 210 pounds, I was like, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm 5'5", like, and it's not like, oh, where did you put it? Like you knew where I put it. So I put it, where did I put it? I put it in a, like a donut and then I ate that too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. We just regurgitate the same thing.
yeah,
So
and I say it took me like 4 months to lose it. I just went to the gym every day. I didn't even take a rest day. I was just like, go, no, you need to take a rest day because then your metabolism can't talk going to the gym.
no, yeah,
I'm,
don't tell me how to do it.
yeah.
I was the same. I was addicted, and my roommate, we just lived together, and that's how I changed my life. Then I moved in with him, and it was like, well, now I can't fake things. He goes to the gym every day. I'm going to the gym with him. The food in the kitchen and in the cupboards, he's there. He sees. There's no hiding shit. So that really helped. But obviously, when he left, and I fell back in old ways. Obviously, there's other issues going on with myself, and but what really happened was when I lost that weight and I got healthy. Eventually, I'm getting attention. And as a big guy in my life, for the first time in my life at the age of 30, I'm getting attention from females. I'm getting attention from people, and it's without any of me initiating anything or doing anything or wanting, just being there, being working, being people seeing me work hard and be positive, and all of a sudden I'm in shape and I'm looking better. And then all of a sudden I fell into that trap of, oh my God, look at all this attention I'm getting.
Mhm.
And women started dating me, and it wasn't something I had ever handled before. And I didn't know how to handle it. So here I am, a guy in his 30s, thinking he's still 20 because I haven't had those experiences yet. And things kind of went haywire for a bit there. And I went through a lot of experiences. And there's one experience I'll get into. This is one story I want to tell, and
I want to hear it then.
I really want to tell it.
Yeah.
And it has ties here to Vancouver, actually. So I'm living in Ontario, and there's a girl that travels from Vancouver to Toronto a lot, back and forth. She works for a travel agency. I meet her on Tinder when she's on one of her trips to Ontario, and so we're in the same area, and I meet her on Tinder. And then when we finally start talking, she's back in Vancouver, and I realize, I'm like, how did we even met? She's like, oh, I'm in Toronto a lot. I noticed we have mutual friends. She does know some other people. We start talking. Eventually, point being, we met up eventually when she was back in town. We decided not to pursue a relationship like that. But because we have mutual friends, we decided to keep a friendship at least. Like we
Yeah.
would now run into each other.
Because we're grown-ups.
That's right. Now she learned something that I'd never been out of Canada, and I'm 30 years old. I'm 35 years old or something, and I'd never been out of Canada. I never took a trip outside of Canada or anything. She works for a travel agent. She's like, just as a friend, then I would love to, because she's like, I get free trips. She would get free trips to 5-star resorts through her agents. She's like,
Wow.
I want to take you to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, free of charge. Never
Yeah.
charged me a penny. Very nice.
Yes.
We go
You
on this
deserve
trip.
it. You deserve nice things. You're
But
like,
I
yeah.
barely know her too, in a sense. Okay, but I feel like I do know her because we have mutual friends, and I like her mutual friends. So I'm like, okay, this is really nice and very cool. So I had some hesitations, but it's a trip out of Canada for nothing, and I've never been. So I'm super happy and excited. We go on the trip. Now the trip turned really bad. Um,
What?
the trip turned into something. Now I'll to give you the title of this bit I'm working on, and it derives from this, but it's called Mexico Sexual. Now, what happened? Yeah, what happens is, 2 days into the trip or something, I realize her intentions are a bit more than just giving me a trip to Mexico.
No, she loves you. She's in love with you. She's bringing you to, she's, yeah? No? I can,
She,
I'm listening.
it's deeper and even harder than that. As in, I really felt sexually assaulted in many cases here, and this is not a joke. Like, this is a real thing.
No, I'm
That
listening.
and why the reason I say that, even saying that, I feel like that needs to be said. Oh, it's a guy. How can a guy get sexually assaulted? And there's a lot of that stigma.
There's a
I
lot,
know.
though. I've heard you're actually the third man that I've spoken to probably in the last 2 years that have brought up, and they even used the word rape. I get it
Yeah,
in your
well,
body.
I would use it. Who knows where this goes, but
Yeah.
maybe that is what it is if I dig into it and I actually talk to someone about it. But we're in it's a beautiful suite. We got upgraded because she works for a travel agency, and the resort wants the travel agency to advertise the resort and say
Yeah.
how wonderful it is and review it. So what do they do when we get there? Oh, we'll give you the honeymoon suite. We'll put you in this suite and that. And it's so beautiful, but it's one bed, and I'm laying there the second night or so, and all of a sudden I'm being groped and I'm being touched, and I'm saying no, and I'm pushing away, and it's not working. And as in a sense where she would keep doing it, but then obviously I would be forceful with it. But then it's her being mad and angry and freaking out. I brought you here. Look what I've done for you. You should be thankful. What's the big deal? It's just, who cares? Like, we're both adults, and this is how this went for me.
That's a
And
toxic alpha. I don't care what sex you are.
that was
Like,
very
that's,
traumatizing, as in a sense where now I'm stuck here for the rest of the week and in the same room, and I've never been out of the country. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing,
I'm so
in a
sorry you
sense.
went through that.
So every night it was just me avoiding going back to the room until I knew she was out, or it's me just it was a really horrible trip.
Every
And
woman watching this is like, yeah, that's what it's like. You don't want to go back to the room. I know.
right.
Like,
So in a sense, I totally get it. I do. And I went through that, and as much as guys say, I've told the story to guys, and they're like, "Yeah, so what? Just have sex and whatever, have a good time. It's Mexico, and you're on vacation." And for once in my life, and as a guy who never really got a lot of sex growing up, but this is just what it is. It just wasn't. That wasn't the point. It's not the point. The point is I didn't want to. The point is I wasn't attracted to her for this. I didn't know that was the plan, and I didn't want to lead her on any more than whatever had happened before we went.
welcome to the Me Too movement. Pretty soon, did you bargain with yourself? Did you blame yourself? Did you look at what you were wearing? Were you like, well, actually, I let her on. What am I doing here anyway? If that's all she can do?
I constantly reviewed what did I do to lead this on. Did I say things that me even accepting the trip, was it implied?
Yeah,
Like all of that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
Was
had,
my should I have worn panties and not on just with a short skirt that day? Like, are
yeah.
these high heels too high? I don't like no. And I have to make a joke about everything, but my point
No,
being,
and
it's
that's what
not
people
a joke.
that's what people do, and it's not a joke, and it's serious, and it happens. I had a so like I was on a resort. My girlfriend had her boyfriend, and he brought a friend, but they came in from Calgary, and that was when I was living in Vancouver. And I remember like he said to my friend, he's like, "Well, she's kind of stuck up," like, and she's like, "Mickey, he came all the way from Calgary to see you." Like,
Oh Jesus!
I'm sorry. Let me take off my clothes. I didn't realize. I didn't
Do you know
realize.
what the price of gas is right now, Mickey?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
get
Like,
into that
it was like,
shit.
why? I mean, and it was a long time ago too, but I just remember standing there in that moment and thinking, like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, you
Yeah,
literally said, because he came here, it was like, come on, she's got a friend, super slutty, it'll be
and,
great. And then it was weird for the rest of the week. But
right. And then being in those moments, in those situations, I never wish that upon anybody. It was absolutely horrible. It
and I'm
was
glad you're
absolutely
talking.
horrible.
You know what? Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you're talking about it. And I'm glad that, like, any man who listens to this who can relate, because that's got to be really fucking hard to talk about. Because talk about not cool, right? Like,
No,
oh,
no,
dude, what's
and
the problem? Like, oh,
mhm.
sorry, she wanted to fuck you and take you on a trip. Like,
Oh, you poor guy, poor Jay.
yeah, like,
Oh,
oh, are you okay? Did you
yeah,
enjoy your free pina
yeah.
coladas
How
while you
how was
whined
that?
about not wanting to go back to the luxurious
Yeah.
room?
How was that swim up bar in the balcony and hot tub? How was all that? Come on
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
Wow.
it was, and it's something. And again, but because as a comedian, I'm learning. So I called it Mexico sexual because that's the title of a bit I'm going to do about it.
I
Because
love that
and
you're
it,
doing it as
yeah,
a bit too.
I'm working on a bit. I'm working on a full set about addiction. Just because it's things people don't talk about, but I feel like anything can be talked about and anything can be made. I want to tell things eventually that are
This
informative
this
and
side of
teaching
it
as well as funny.
this side of addiction is fucking hilarious. Like, it is.
Yes,
Like, I
yes,
love talking about it. Like, I love
me too.
saying,
I
like,
do.
I got fired from Little Caesars for writing "Help Me, I'm trapped at Little Caesars" in the top of a pizza box. Like, that was like my first job. Like, I did some fucked up shit, and it was
Holy
like,
shit!
yeah, like, it was like drugs. I started some fire one time. I was making popcorn, and then I walked away, and then the oil caught on fire. So I took it and I threw it outside, but I threw it onto a tree that was overhanging
Oh,
the house. And
oh.
yeah, like, I have got, like, it's funny on this side. That's awesome. And
But
then
that exactly right is like now and I guess it's hindsight, obviously, but it's also hindsight because there are experiences, and it feels like, and when I do talk about them, I'm happy talking about them in the past tense. There's something about that gives me it makes me feel good. It makes me all warm inside. And
mhm,
it as in like I've come a long way. I've been through a lot. I've had a lot of experiences, even like drug wise. Oh God, like, but my drug use stems from massive abuse as a kid. When you want to talk about daddy issues, like I can tell you about daddy issues as like my father was an evangelist, a Pentecostal evangelist that travels the world and preaches the gospel to countries that thinks he's there to save it as a missionary. And he was on the pastoral team for one of the biggest churches in Toronto, like in Canada, growing up. And I grew up in that. If you ever watch the show Gemstones or you see those big churches, the Joel Osteens, that was my life. I was that preacher's kid. Now, on Sunday he was fine, but Monday through Saturday he was the opposite. And there was a lot of physical abuse and other abuse between my mom, with my mom, and to me and my siblings, a lot, and to the point where me and my mom ran away. Like we literally just up and took off because we had to escape. And we like she's the strongest woman I know in my life, and I come from a life of the biggest mama's boy because I'm the baby of 8 kids. All of these 7 other kids. There's 10 years between me and the second youngest. They were already moved out and had their own families, and then it's me and my mom and him at home, and it was just nothing but abuse and beatings and abuse and beatings. Even her, like just him beating on her in front of me, and
Where's your dad
then
now, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know.
Okay.
So
You
I
guys weren't around.
haven't. It's been a long, long time. I have one sister that does speak to him, but my family dynamic. We come from a very huge family, but we don't talk, and we're very broken.
This
I
is
have,
the this is the age.
yeah,
I also feel like this is sort of the age thing because my family didn't talk. We didn't say I love you. We weren't huggers,
yeah,
right? I
yeah.
experienced my
And like I may have 7 siblings, but like I said, they were all pretty much moved out, so I barely know them. They, I was born in Newfoundland, and then at 3 years old, we moved to Ontario when I was 3 years old. And I grew up in the GTA area, all around North York, Mississauga, Brampton, Mississauga. Oh, sorry, yeah, say that again. But not really how it is. We did go from Mississauga to Brampton, back to Mississauga, back to Brampton. But the siblings were they either moved to Alberta. I have 2 sisters and a brother in Alberta. I have a sister still in Newfoundland. I have another brother that's further north in Ontario. And so we're very spread out, and we really didn't grow up together.
when
Um,
was the last time you guys got together? Like just like weddings and funerals, or pretty
I
much, or
don't
no?
even know. I couldn't even tell you. I the last time we just don't. We just I some of them talk to each other. None of them talk to me except one sister from Ontario
Are you
who
the
is
black sheep?
yeah, oh, 100%.
Yes, because
Because my mom, because of our situation, my mom has spent a lot of, she put up with a lot of my crap growing up when I got into drugs and stuff too. And them from afar who don't even know me would judge me saying, oh, because my mom's older, because I'm the baby of 8. She had me when she was 40. So by the time I'm going through my drug issues and that the rest of the family is going, oh, she should be retired. She's gone through so much.
your drug issues, are like reactionary and part of like
Yeah,
and part of who you are. You do understand that. You also know that the black sheep knows the most. Right?
I I do now.
Literally, give me familial, give me 2 broken legs before you give me a familial problem again. Like, I don't wanna deal with that
Yeah,
inter-family workings thing, right? You said that
it,
I think you
it's
mentioned,
the
like, you
worst.
blocked or you don't talk to your family or
Yeah,
something.
no, it's so strange, Nikki. I tell you, it's a very strange thing. It's people I don't know, but then they still block. Like because and now I know that from afar they were just thinking I was the reason my mom was still working and not retired. I'm the reason I put my mom through so much. And yes,
You don't
I
stop
did
being the black sheep because 'cause you're the kid. Like, you don't
right,
stop that. You get to be a grown-up black sheep.
and yes,
Congratulations.
she stuck around me for a lot of those drug issues and things. Yes, she did.
You're lucky.
But I get blamed for that because now they think my mom should have been she should have been able to retire and be happier earlier, and I shouldn't have been such a fuck up. So
And
these are people I don't talk to, and I don't know you. I don't even know you people.
this is
Get
why you can go do comedy, by the way, because if you can grow up like earning the love from your family, taking kind of a shit kicking, and now you're like, I do music, and I'm gonna play the guitar, and I'm gonna be able to do comedy, and I'm gonna be versatile, and I'm gonna be a good person about it. Like shit,
yeah,
man, I love the black
yeah.
sheep.
I'm breaking the chain of every single goddamn thing that happened in my family, and I will do that.
Uh, have you ever been?
The Go ahead. Sorry.
Have you ever been to the edge?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've been hospitalized. I put on holds for suicidal attempts. A lot of it, and a lot of it again was, and then like I'd find emails that were being sent around from my sisters saying that I don't suffer from depression. Depression isn't real, and I'm faking it all to keep my mom, so I don't have to move out and keep my mom there. A lot of that, and I'll never forget that. And I don't know if I'll ever talk to them ever again. And this is my sister, and it hurts. And all those things. And every suicidal attempt was backlash from the rest of the family. And
What
not
brought
intense, I guess. It's
what
more
brought
of
you
I would talk about it, and yeah.
what brought you back the last time? Because the last time was the one where you got on your feet, and you're always like, that's the thing I don't really like about addiction either, because you never win, right? You never won. It's just always
I
you
feel
always
I'm an
fuck up.
addict.
But the last
I'm
time you
still an
came back,
addict. Yeah, like I still like I am an addict. I do a lot of, I did a lot of drugs, and everything I love I get addicted to, and I do in enormous amounts, and I can't let go of anything. I'm sure there's deeper issues going on there. But
yeah,
um,
here I'll put this back up. So,
yeah, so um, you know what? When was the last time? When was my bottom? Um,
well, because it's funny too, because you always think, well, oh, I can't go any further, and then there's like a dugout, and then there's a
there's
thing underneath
always
it,
some,
and then
yeah.
there's a path. There's like, oh, is that another trap door? Like, yeah, like so you're at
I
your
don't know if
bottom.
there was I don't know if there was one defining rock bottom where I turned everything around. It was just a thought of eventually working on one thing at a time until everything finally amounted up to a bunch of good things happening, and then that's pretty contagious with other parts of my life. Anything I've done in my life, I just did it. I feel like, oh, okay, I need, if I want to go do if I want to sell all my belongings, move to Vancouver and start comedy, okay. And but I say that not like that, but there was time, there's a lot of, oh my God, can I do this? Should I? What do I do? What do you mean? How do I just make a leap? What do I? But I just bought the ticket and I
You
just
just
did
do
it.
it.
I
You just
just did
I
it, and I
you
learned
just
that.
do it.
And I can't
Yeah.
pinpoint a bottom, Mickey. I don't. There wasn't a point where I was like, I got to change everything, because I had every night was that. Every night was me going at the end of the night, what am I doing? What am I doing?
You're
And
never gonna be lying in your bed
eventually
on
I
your
just stopped.
deathbed. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're not gonna be
eventually
like, oh, I wish I drank more. I wish I worked more. It's like, no, I wish I went to Vancouver, became a comedian.
Right. I'll
Right.
tell you one thing. Like when I first came out here, yeah, I quit a good job. I left all my family and friends that I had there that I talked to, but I have a lot of friends. Like the lack of, I have a huge family that I don't talk to, and then I have a ton of friends. Somehow, all these friends came into my life, and I guess I'm such a people person. I draw people in. Like
You're gonna bring people in.
I
You've got
bring
that like
people in.
I hate saying that word like it factor, but I mean, you're going to bring people that come see you just because you have that draw. And not everybody has
Yeah,
that. You have the draw. Like
yeah,
I've been, even just talking to you like over the last 50 minutes, like you have that draw. And I'm grateful on behalf of everybody that gets to know you that you figured this out now
yeah,
and not at 57, at 64,
yeah.
at 72, right? You got
Yeah.
lots of time.
And that's the thing too. I know I'm starting comedy late, and this is one thing I think about sometimes. It's a little depressing thing that creeps in, but it's not really. But it's I start comedy at 38, and it's like I come here and I just start, but people have been doing it since they were in their 20s. So I
Right.
also feel though the positive to that is I'm much more my world experience and my life experience is so well now, it's there, and now I go on stage instead of as a kid going on stage with no experience of life and not
Mhm.
know going through things. Now I've gone through so much and I've done so much. Now I go on
You were
stage.
going through your experience. 38 is when I started doing
Yeah.
comedy as well. Maybe it was
Oh,
39.
amazing.
Yeah, like I didn't start doing it until later. And like my aunt became a doctor at 42. And like this is just the start. This is the second half, right? And
Yeah.
you get to do it sober with an idea of where your family is standing,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. And now those experiences are behind me, but now I can talk about them on stage in a different light. Like you
And
said,
make them
talking
funny.
about them now is fun. And now I can be funny about it instead of uh, uh, tragic about it, I guess, in a sense.
Exactly. But the thing is, tragedy, I believe that some people disagree, but like the tragedy plus time equals comedy, right? Like,
It
and
does. That is.
you can't joke about something unless you understand it to its core, right? Because so I have
Yeah.
this thing about stress tests, right? And I say, okay, well, I went to the stress test and they didn't have to put me on a treadmill. I was just scared my dad was going to come in chewing bubble gum in my ear, talking about me wasting my potential, right? Like that's the stress. Yeah, you get it, right? Like anybody else is
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, my dad's a piece of shit too, right? Or right? Like you just if you get it and you understand it at a fundamental level and you can make it funny and relatable, just go work in Vegas because that's
Right.
where
And you're just more mature about it because you're
oh,
older. I mean,
I,
like now when I talk, I feel more mature talking about it now, like as an older person. I honestly feel like I've got to skip a lot of the what happens to comedians when they start at a young age. I got to skip a lot of those troubles and hardships that they go through. I went through them without comedy, but now that I'm in comedy, I'm able to sidestep things because of my life experience. I recognize certain things,
But
and I go, no, yeah,
let's not devalue what you actually went through. Like, yeah, you got to sidestep some
yeah,
stuff, but you also went through your pile of shit. Like your path, it sounds like it involved a ton of pain, and you worked through it, and you did the work, and
yeah.
you're out on the other side. So,
Yeah,
all
no, I mean my path in comedy only. I
oh,
just mean the path
oh,
in comedy. I get to sidestep some of the troubles that early comedians have
mhm.
because I'm a bit older and wiser in a sense that just that. But my experiences brought me to that. And not, I will never devalue what I've been through. There's so much, like I said, the abuse as a kid, then to drugs. Drugs were just so, it was brutal. And there's a story too about here in Vancouver. The person I was telling you about that took me under her wing and like really helped me, and I was really my first friend here. I eventually I started working for her and I was booking shows. Here I am, a booker. 1 year into comedy, I'm booking 3 shows a week, show running with her. I loved it because it got to fast track me too, in a sense, in comedy, because all of a sudden all these well established comedians are coming to me, and they're coming and they're being nice to me and they're treating me a bit better than they would newer comics because I'm a producer and a showrunner, so they're asking me for something. And it was a lot of that, and I got to really fast track comedy knowledge in my first year, 2 years. Unfortunately, during the lockdown, me and that relationship, it did dissolve. And it dissolved. I'll talk about it, but I'll talk about it in the sense that we're kind of actually working on that relationship now, and it's getting better, and things have been really positive. But what happened was, and because being new at comedy, maybe I came out here to be a comedian, not a showrunner, not a producer. Those things started taking away from my writing and my focus, and I started feeling more stressed out. It's really stressful handling comedians 3 days a week, show running,
Yeah, I've
booking
read some
them,
shows.
booking them, hoarding them, sheeping them as a shepherd in a show, telling them to shut up all the time, telling them the rules, especially during the pandemic. Like this was when last year when things were still open and you had to sit certain ways and we were restricted on ticket sales. Everyone had to have a mask. We had to sanitize everything. So eventually I'm like, man, where's my comedy? Like I got to book myself, of course, whenever I wanted, but I wasn't work. I was so tired. I was so stressed out that my comedy was taking a back seat. And so our dissolving of our working relationship actually was a good thing. But the way it happened, I'll tell you the story. So I considered her a friend, and because that's what we were. We drove home after every show together. It was our therapy rides, we would call them, because it was a me and her time amongst all the craziness, and we get to talk about other shows. I made a posting on Facebook when DMX died. Now, the posting, I think that was 4 months ago, probably 5 months ago, maybe. Um, and I noticed that the post I made was okay. When I was 15 or 14, I got shipped from my parents in Ontario to my sister in Alberta. Someone I didn't grow up with or know. Her kids were my same age, so I'm going to school with my nephews. I'm in the same class as my nephews. This is a weird thought, but it was always cool. I got to meet new friends. I was getting bullied really bad at school anyway, but I was dealing weed in my high school. Now I got robbed at gunpoint and my parents freaked out and shipped me to my sister. This is what happened. Yeah, I
West
found out
Philadelphia, born and raised in Toronto.
yeah,
Just
I
imagine.
found out the person that robbed me was my best friend, and he was in a mask, and it was really dark. He didn't say anything. The guy with him did the talking. He just held the gun to my head and to the side, and then the other guy was talking. And then eventually, my parents went to the cops. They found them. They asked me to identify if they look like I'm like they're wearing masks while they're walking in and out, and it was my friend. It was the guy I'm supposed to pick up my weed from. So he knew where he was going to meet me, and he knew I had money on me. And instead of him just showing up alone, he showed up in a mask and a gun with another guy. Anyway, so my parents shipped me to my sister's thinking it's going to be better. Now it's so much worse. I go to and now I'm in Red Deer as a 14-year-old kid
Oh
starting.
God, you might as well just holy shit, just get
I
a
got
fake
I
ID
got
to
to
go
make
into the
new
strippers
friends.
and start smelling or start selling meth. That's
I'll
what
tell you
you
I'll tell you one thing. It was just a funny story. And we always said it would be a good Jerry Springer episode. When I got out there, my nephew's girlfriend, I immediately was like we got very friendly, not in any other way that was disrespectful, but I knew there was an attraction there, and And she eventually broke up with my nephew to date me. So here I am, the uncle. I come and I steal my nephew's girlfriend,
That
which
is
is a
so
very strange.
country. That is
Yeah,
so.
we're the same age, so it sounds weird, but yeah,
And
that's
it
what
was
happened.
weirder because we were splitting payments so that we could buy a truck together. And then my cousin,
And her brother was my best friend. I gained a lot of friends there, but the point is, I got into a lot of it's Red Deer. I got into a lot of that's where my drug life started. Really, like I was selling weed in high school in Ontario. I wasn't doing coke, nothing like that. I get to Alberta, Red Deer. I'm doing coke.
it's
I'm
an
doing
age
all.
thing too, though. I mean, like I didn't start doing coke until I was older. I accidentally did meth once. I did. It was an accident. I thought it was cocaine.
I
And
accidentally did
found out.
Special K once,
I
thinking
was
it was
like,
coke.
"Oh my god, what's wrong with that?" Like, "Oh, you know that's meth, right?" I was like, "No, no, I didn't." But thank you, thank you. I'll be up for 7 days now. I just they're like, "Do you still want the cocaine?" I was like, "You know what? Let's see how this pans out."
Yeah,
Let
the cocaine will help me
That
sleep.
was Wreck Beach in Vancouver when I was like 22,
Oh
and
God,
I was like,
that
"Oh my god,"
explains
I accidentally did meth, and people were like, "Oh my god, what happened?" Well, I thought it was coke. So
it.
anyway, yeah. So I think it was the
Yeah,
age thing. You were going to get into it, and you were going to find drugs
right.
wherever
A
you
hundred
were.
percent, 100%. But here I am feeling like I don't have any parents around. It's my sister, and her husband's always working off in the oil rigs, and she's always home alone. And she has two kids who are bratty at my age, and
And
it was a free for
I
all.
was bullied, and I deserve it.
I'm from Toronto. Everyone's looking at
That's
me
right.
like a bad boy, and like I got a new image. I was getting bullied really bad in Ontario, so I got to come out here, and everyone I looked at differently. But the point being with the whole, this is such a sidetrack story from the DMX thing and
That's
what I'm
okay.
talking about, but
That's
it
okay.
all leads into it, I swear. The point being, I used to,
I write a really tight ship. It's very important that it all makes sense and has a flow to it. I'm sure you can.
that's me again, trying to make sure it all makes sense and being
You
perfect,
know
but
what? Screw.
yeah.
I'm just gonna leave that. I'm just gonna leave it. I don't care. Go ahead.
I love
Talk.
it. Okay.
Talk.
So I start running with all these, the cool kids and all these people. We learned to scheme, and it was, later we would look out for farms like just outside the city. There's all kinds of farms and fuel tank, like they have big fuel towers for their tractors and such and all their equipment. We had tons of jerry cans, and all my friends had big trucks. We, in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., no lights on, going down a back road, backing up to these farm things, stealing their gas, filling
I
up
can
jerry
hear the
cans.
fucking banjo.
Yeah. it was we were shot at with shotguns, and my friend's Ford Probe back window just blew out from a shotgun one time, because we were filling up jerry cans of gas and then taking off and selling them in the city for
We
half.
were getting shot at. Yeah.
And we're getting shot at. One dude came out, he's like, "Hey, get away." I go to throw the tank over, I didn't have it fully closed, I'm covered in gas now, and
If
he's
the
shooting at
if the
us.
shotgun wasn't sawed off, he
Yeah.
totally would have blown the head off. Like,
it was some Dukes of Hazard stuff. I'm
yeah.
telling you, it was really crazy. And then also, me and my friend, like, I'll talk about anything. We stole car stereos, and we would break into cars and steal their car stereos and their speaker. But this is when speaker boxes were a huge thing, and everybody's car was going boom, 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 boom as they go down the street. And the only way to test it, and the way we would grade these speaker systems, we would use DMX's first two albums. If they really bumped like the bass, they were just so known for that music and that bass. So I, it's an old life. I'm not happy about that life, but it's my experience and what I went through, and it's gotten me here. But I made a post just saying, "Rest in peace, DMX." Here's a memory of how much you meant to us. We used you to grade stereo systems we would steal. My boss, this friend, immediately contacts me and says that I can't have you posting things about you stealing, breaking into cars. And here I am going to do an interview for a magazine, and they're going to see her on my payroll. And I'm like, this was over 25 years ago. You
Yeah,
know
how
that, right?
big do you think you are?
And
Like,
you
how
know who I am, right? Like we've been traveling together and working together for over a year. You know my heart. You know I'm not that guy, right?
you
Like,
literally go by an initial. You are JR. So I'm
yeah,
pretty sure that that's not how you are on your payroll. But that's all right. I digress.
yeah. It's just I was
My
very
legal name
shocked.
isn't Mickey either, by the way.
It's Mark.
I'm not stupid. That's why. Oh
uh,
yeah, because your friend was my. That's how Mark and I met, and that was
yeah,
in comedy
I
complaints, and that's what
honestly
I
thought you
posted
guys.
whenever
I
I
thought you
Google my
guys were
name.
related.
No,
But
he just came
uh,
up on my Google searches, and I was like, "This is bullshit." And I was like, "Oh, here, let me. I'll send him a friend request." Ah, so oh, look at
so
this.
she immediately she goes, I go, I can take it down then. I was kind of shocked, but I was like, I can take down the post. And she's like, no, I think it's best we just part ways.
Wow.
And she said it just like that.
I'm
And
going to tell you, she was looking for a reason anyway, because if you had offered to take it down and she was watching you that closely, she was actually looking for a reason.
so that's what came out of this. And you're very right. And you're very correct because I found that out after. And I found out that throughout the whole lockdown and pandemic, we had lost a lot of communication. We weren't being very communicative. And I found out because I was like,
She was pulling
just
back.
she started then she started rhyming off reasons on the phone, other reasons why I wasn't like we needed
And
to
if you
separate.
listen, like the four things she said,
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
actual
And
reason.
those things were like, oh, I'm getting screenshots of things you're posting as jokes. Even my jokes and stuff that I post online, she was taking offense to them. And
Okay, I'm sorry, but I like when I met Mark Hughes, and he came through Thunder Bay, and I mentioned, and I thought it was very nice. He took time out of his trip to just say hi to me because he's going through because I was still new to comedy, and he was actually going out. He was going away from Vancouver at that time, but I would have a difficult time justifying. And he's a troll. Openly, he's a troll. So I'm not even
yes,
dogging there. Like I'm not making fun of him. Like even, but he is a troll. He says stuff to get a rise. He can be like he can be rude. He can be racist. He could be subjectively sexist, right? So he's just not somebody that, and this is your direct association. So not guilt through association, not even that, because I understand that. Um, I honestly believe that you just be a good influence on the guy, right? I
yeah,
just, but if I had an employee, I'm going to tell you, like, as much as I'm like, hey, that, Henchcliffe thing was shit, I would be pretty opposed to a support of some of the stuff that Mark Hughes posts there. I think that's a fair statement without
100%.
I don't attack it. I don't attack it.
I get all that. That's fine. It was about just personally my jokes. It had nothing to do with
Oh,
me
I'm sorry
showing.
that I need to go up on all that.
It was yeah, she was just trying to reach for things that reasons.
Why do you think she didn't want you there then? If it wasn't for the postings and stuff, because
Oh
you
no,
said
it
it
was
was
for
for your
postings, but not necessarily postings from him. It was postings of my own jokes that I would put
oh,
on Facebook that I post all the time. I post jokes all the time. Like that's what I do. I share a
you
lot of
walk a
jokes.
line, but I've never found anything over the
No,
line.
exactly.
I have
Me
more
and
people blocked than I have friends on Facebook. I would have blocked you.
yeah, there's a lot of. I tell you, it's a lot different out here.
Yeah.
And I learned that, and I learned that way. And it was more of just cut ties with me because of my comedy and and yeah, maybe it had a little bit to do with that as she did mention his name, but it was more of things I said on his podcast. And what I said on his podcast was, I think what she's referring to is I was saying sometimes I don't think it's okay to promote being fat, and as a sense of I see a lot of
I agree
like
with that.
yeah, but I have no problem with being happy with who you are. But there, when it comes to promoting a lifestyle like that, I don't think we should promote that to people. As in, it's okay to be this heavy and this fat. I don't think it's okay to be my size, in a sense that it's not healthy. It's not you're not gonna live as long as you
But
want,
those are
and
owning statements. You're talking about your weight. You're not
that's
talking about
me.
anybody else's weight.
That's me 100%. Exactly. I don't I am this size. I am happy, but I know I have to work on it if I want to live a happier life. As in, I want to be more physical. I like playing sports. I like being out more. I like going for walks and hikes in this beautiful place. And I don't get to experience that a lot because I've had 2 knee surgeries from being
And
this
I'm
heavy.
sorry. So she didn't like that you were saying not to promote body positivity.
I think so because I was
Oh,
saying that I don't think it's right that they should be out there saying it's okay to be this. It is okay to be that heavy because it's a problem, but you have to know also. I believe that you're not healthy as you could be maybe,
and I don't
and
know what anybody else's BMI is, what they're healthy with,
right,
right? Sometimes, like, I know that if I eat like shit, I'm gonna look like shit, and I'm gonna feel like shit,
and you're
and
gonna feel like shit,
so the
and
point,
yeah,
so she was your friend. She went back during the pandemic, and then so obviously she saw something that, I mean, that
yeah,
triggered her, and
Yeah.
then maybe she was sort of out to kind of let
But
you
I
know from
honestly
the top.
think it. I think it's the people around her. She can be easily influenced by the people in her surroundings. So when I was around her every week doing shows, everything was okay. But when we're separated during a pandemic, and she started being around other people, and she started hiring other people,
Is
and
she a comedy producer too?
she, yeah,
Yeah.
she's one. She's one of the biggest here.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Oh, sorry.
but
Yeah,
like
because I
I
don't want to
said,
be like gossipy or anything, but yeah. Okay.
no,
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell the
I know.
story without it being like an attack on her because we are reconciling currently. We're working on like we're hindsight again, and I'm not a guy to hold a grudge. I've made many mistakes in my past and decisions that I think were wrong in hindsight. And if someone comes to me and seems sincere and they're sorry, you have my ear, 100%.
And if
So
somebody isn't sorry and they're still painful and they're spouting stuff off, I have to genuinely believe that it comes from a pain or an anger that comes from pain. So it actually stems from a hurt. I just can't have those people in my orbit, so I'll like separate myself from them. But even them aren't
yeah,
totally aren't totally to blame because I've been
right.
attacked too, and I just think, you know what, these people have to get up, like they have to be themselves every day. Like I wouldn't want this person's life.
And it's a
So
hard thing to realize, and that's a hard conclusion to come to, as in like, and way to feel about it, because for a long time my thinking was, well, f everybody if they don't, if they're against me and this and that, you're my enemy and I have to attack. And I've come a long way in the fact of just nothing hits me anymore. And if it does, what hit me most about this was me and her were friends, not just employees.
yeah, no, because
Through
there was a personal relationship there. Like as far as I'm
yes,
concerned, my my reputation and how people feel about me, that's none of my business.
right,
It's not. I mean, I'm not responsible for how people receive my image. You're not responsible for how people receive your image, and we're not our friends' keepers.
right.
So
100%. And
yeah,
I'm done with so much dealing with drama, and I'm done with negative. And I know sometimes I just get thrown into it because of people I know and people I'm friends with, but I will never turn my back on people who don't turn their back on me. In a sense, like, except for like, obviously there's things they can do that I'll be like, whoa, okay, but I mean,
yeah,
like,
like
if
like
you're
to me, it's like be a Trump supporter. I'll just be like, no, thank you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sort of.
I've learned very much to never. I just don't share my real opinions on anything anymore online.
I was
Um,
told to take like the BLM stuff off and whatever, and now I just spout it. Now I'm just like, you know what? This is what I support. This is what I don't support. You can call me you can call
right,
me a snowflake. I'm as left wing as it gets. You can call me a nut job. That's fine. I probably am. I probably am.
and I come from a spot where I look at my Facebook memories and I'm so cringy and depressed from those. I'm like, how? Ooh, who was this guy? This is the
That's because
guy's
we were
gross.
blackout drunk when they come up. We're like, what the fuck did I write that?
The
Like, what does
things
that
I
even
said, I'm
mean?
like, what a loser that guy is. And I just, or
I was
was
actually
like,
I was actually really funny. I look at like some of my old status updates and I just like recycle them from like 12 years ago and throw a
I,
spin on it.
I,
I'm like,
I
that
do
was
that
actually
from
really fucking clever.
I did that from a couple years ago, but anything past 5 years, and I was a cringy motherfucker.
But I
I
might
just
have it came up
I just
yesterday.
shared too much of my political stance. I feel, and I shared too much. I share too much of things that can change. Like I
If
share too much of,
oh, okay.
like, you know what I mean. Like a feeling. My political stance has changed quite a bit from then till now. But that's all because of experience in life, and
That's
you
good,
learn
and
more and
you're
knowledge.
understanding and
I
you're
adapt.
movable,
I
and that
adapt to things when there's new knowledge, like a scientist. If there's new things, what was said last week could go against and contradict what happened. I say
yeah,
today,
facts
based on
and
new
feelings.
information.
Yeah, facts and feelings can change my opinion. That was my
Yeah.
thing. Like so, like 12
So,
years ago, I was clearly blackout drunk, but so it's good to say it. I was like, got on the elevator today, and there was a guy wearing a Burger King crown. I said, "Is it your birthday?" And he said, "No." And then he got off the elevator. That was the most interesting conversation I had all day. And then in all caps, I wrote, all day. Like, that's really, I'm glad I was throwing it out there. I was a comedian before I even thought that I was.
that is just brilliant. That's
What? Yeah, I
that's,
made him post that still. Like, just like nobody
that's
knew, like from 12
gold. I
years
can't believe
ago.
you're just giving that away to the world.
Oh, day. Oh, I do that with my status updates too. People steal my shit, or I don't know if you feel like this, right? People, or they'll send me back a joke. I'll be like, yeah, it's my joke. Yeah, it's an internet joke. Yeah, it's my internet joke, but I don't put any ownership on it because
Yeah.
I think of an ocean and somebody taking a bucket, and I think, yeah, no, you can go ahead, you can have that joke. You go ahead because I
So
got the
I
ocean over
I
here.
I've had that happen to me recently. Someone straight up just jacked word for word my joke and just put it as
And
their own
everybody
style.
knows.
And
People
without
know.
any, yeah, people came to me and people were messaging me. I'm
Yeah.
like,
I see it,
yeah,
and people know, and they're never going to say to the comedian that. Like, I actually had a joke that was, kind of similar or familiar, and it was really nice. Like, I finally had like a couple people, who said, it is. I'm like, well, you should have told me. I've been telling that joke for a year and a half. Like, if I wanted to say,
yeah,
I would have changed it out because there's genuinely like a linear joke, which is very similar, which every person that steals joke goes, it was linear, right?
yeah.
And then they're straight up stealing shit. So I'm gonna ask you. So one last question that I ask everybody is, what would you, Derek? What would you tell somebody if, probably like a good friend, like a comedian friend, if they called you and they were in crisis? What do you tell to, like, not physically but metaphorically talk them off that ledge?
Oh, okay. I have a lot I can relate to them depending on their situation. If they're on the edge of, it's a lot of personal interaction. Like I would come to them. If I couldn't come to them, I would talk them into any memory together, anything I know they're amazing and incredible at, because people who get to the edge like that usually have some amazing talents too, and are just, they always seem to have something incredible about them that isn't being utilized properly, or they're not. And I'm like, and I point out that gift they have, and I would point out how much that actually is noticed, even though people don't mention it a lot. And I think it's important to let them know that they're very talented, and that talent they have and what they're really great at, they should focus on that and create, and
What if
just
they weren't?
always.
What if they aren't very
Every,
good?
pardon?
What if they aren't very good?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Your low self-esteem is good common sense. I'm glad that you're feeling this way. You should get into the arts in another department. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
no matter what, nothing, like no matter what, if you, nothing can be worse than what you're about to do. So like, there's healing there. I've been to there, and I just know that it does get better. And my main thing is, a lot of people in high school, and I'll tell you this because I was bullied so hard in high school, that's not real life.
Oh no.
Remember that. Like what you're dealing with in high school, it will end. As soon as high school ends, that will end what you're suffering from during that period. And I tell that to a lot of people in school, because I have so many nephews and stuff and nieces that are in school now. And I have to tell them that this, you're learning right now, you're taking these classes, but this is not the real world. The real world is a lot different. You're going to find issues in the real world too, but it's not a daily thing where you're being bullied every day like that, or whatever situation's
I
happening.
feel your pain. Like, I want to go back in time to your high school when you were there and like just punch some people in the
It was
face.
so bad. It was points of, like, the physical beatings were so bad. I was on the run from the football team one year for the whole semester, because there was, in the smoking pit, we call the smoking pit, where you go for your cigarette in between classes. There was this girl who did something, and she hit me, and then immediately shouted, because nobody was looking, "Oh my god, you just hit me!" And that was it. I was done.
Yeah,
The whole
clearly,
year
clearly you
I was
didn't
on the
hit some
run.
girl, but
No.
you know that they bullied you and you know that they came after you
No
because
matter
everybody
what
always
I
mentions
say, didn't yeah, no matter what I say, didn't matter. I was on the run from the football team for the whole year. Every time I saw someone on the team, I had to run. I had to run the opposite direction. I got beat. I got, when it was my birthday. They found out when my birthday was, and I would get kicks to the chest for beats, like 17. Oh, you're 17 this year. Here's 17 kicks to the
you
chest.
under you understand where that came from. Like, it took me a long time. Like, I'm 44 years old and it took me a long time to understand this. And only people with that, like I said, I hate the word it factor because like that's not it. It's just something. We'll call it a je ne sais quoi, right?
Mm, mm,
You still had that in high school. You've had it your entire life. You're
mm.
getting kicks and you're getting beat up and you're getting targeted and girls are going, "Oh, you're hitting me." you're irritating people's demons. People don't know how to handle you. You've got some kind of
Absolutely.
thing about you, right? So, and like you understand that now because you're whatever. Like it's just
I
like I
never
feel
did
like you're being
understand
a man.
that. I never
Yeah,
did until probably
you
you
are.
just said that.
And we're all mirrors for each other. So if you're finding that you're mirroring people and they're acting like pieces of shit, then you are what you're doing is you're turning it back on them. Like dear
Exposing.
friends,
I'm
like, people
exposing
just
them.
love you, like right? They meet you and they're
Yeah.
like, I like you. I like you. I was like, hey, I want to. I mean, it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn now because I'd be like, what you show me and you, I like, right? What you show me
Yeah.
about me, I'm enjoying. So I'm like, hey, come do my show with me, right? When you
Yeah.
talk to somebody, you've never talked to them before, all of a sudden they turn on you and they're and they're angry. That's their responsibility, right? The
Right.
football players, the girls, all I hear when you say I had an entire high school after me and a whole football team was that you had something about you then that you were showing at that time because they weren't punching down, they were punching up. And I'm really glad they didn't get you.
No, a lot of my depression came from that. I was getting beat at home, and then you think you can escape to school for a few hours to get away from it, and you're getting beat at school. And it was no escape from the abuse in my
Yeah.
life for a long time. And that's
Because
where the
there was a
drug use.
reason why, and
Yeah.
you were creating. Okay, I was creating it. I was getting it at home. I was getting it at school. I was creating it, but it wasn't that way. It's not like, oh, you can't blame yourself. I had to learn that I rattled cages. I am who I am,
Yeah.
and that wasn't my responsibility. And because if I'm around, either weaker minded people or not kind people or people that don't like themselves, I was going to be in trouble. So I have to be around good people. I
Yeah.
have to, or I might as well just sit alone. So I want to thank you very, very much for being here. You shared a
No.
lot, and I really appreciate your vulnerability. And I think it's important for men to see guys like you, a big burly guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
More look like a lumberjack, and
I
have
should have
you,
worn my flannel. I should have worn my
yeah,
flannel.
because you look like alpha male that could probably kick some ass. So,
I
um,
I could, but
yeah,
that's not. I use my powers for
but you
good.
don't. There we go. So, yeah, I think this might be the longest episode I've done. They're usually
Oh
20-minute
man,
segments. No, that's
thank you
okay.
for having me. I
No, I really
absolutely loved
appreciate
it.
it. This is
This is
wonderful.
yeah, this has been. Thank you so much, Mickey.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm going to post it uncut onto YouTube right after my episode with Luke Lindale, so probably right after the weekend. So maybe if you don't mind, send me those links. I'll post
Yeah.
them here as well. And with your friend, the photographer, send those to me.
Yes.
I'll post them with the links and then tag them as well on YouTube. So thank you so much for being here.
Amazing. I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You have a good night.
You as well.
Oh shoot, I'm getting really bad at closing. I'm pretty sure I just cut him off. But that was JR from Vancouver. That was a whole pile of fun. This is like 6 episodes. No, I've only ever done two, but it'd be funny if I did three. I did like this. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.